Herbert and Katherine Schaible are a Christian couple who passionately love God. And in 2009, they suffered the tragic death of their 2-year-old son, Kent. Kent died of untreated bacterial pneumonia. And why didn't they seek medical treatment for their son? Because they disregarded medical science and believed solely in the power of prayer. In 2013, the Schaibles were still serving a 10-year probation for neglect of their first son when their 8-month-old son, Brandon, died from treatable bacterial pneumonia. Once again, the couple had resisted medical treatment because they believed that through prayer, God would miraculously and unilaterally, all by God's self, would heal their child. The problem was that God didn't heal, and 2 precious children suffered needlessly and eventually died tragic deaths. How many individuals have endured unnecessary suffering, experienced worsening health conditions, or died due to believing God would take care of things? And how many societal challenges have persisted for decades, all the while individuals pray but fail to apply wisdom or get in the trenches and take practical actions to offer meaningful solutions? This is indeed sobering questions. The bystander effect is a term used by social psychologists to describe the lack of intervention by individuals during crises or emergencies, when they perceive others are present and aware of the event. Preeminent social psychologist Elliot Aronson writes in his classic book, The Social Animal, if people are aware that an event is being witnessed by others, the responsibility felt by any individual is diffused. I became familiar with the term after reading A.M. Rosenthal's 38 Witnesses, the Kitty Genovese Case. The book is an account of the brutal rape and murder of Kitty Genovese by Winston Moseley, which occurred on March 13, 1964. And it was reported there were 38 people who were aware that the horrific event was occurring, but did nothing to stop it. Another instance of the bystander effect was shown in 2009 when Dominic Brunner was murdered by 2 18-year-olds. And Dominic was trying to stop the violent teens from attacking other children. Unfortunately, his sacrificial gesture led to his death. And like the Genovese case, people witnessed the event, but no one physically intervened to stop it. And while there are some caveats with the bystander effect, and admittedly contradictory research, it appears to be a genuine social phenomenon in some contexts. And I believe the reality of the bystander effect becomes even clearer in the context of petitionary prayer, contributing to what I call the prayer stander effect. Dare I say that if the world could speak, it would express in anguish, I suffer from religious trauma due to petitionary prayer and its subsequent neglect of my well-being, leading to an increase in the suffering of my inhabitants. Let's unpack this a bit. Let's define some terms. The federal law defines child abuse and neglect as any recent act or failure to act on the part of a parent or caretaker which results in death, serious physical or emotional harm, sexual abuse, or exploitation. Since we're talking about prayer, there's many different kinds of prayer, but we're talking about petitionary prayer. And in my book, Divine Echoes, I define petitionary prayer as talking to, and let's face it, many times begging and asking God to love in a specific manner in which God was not doing so beforehand. So putting these definitions together and linking our talk with the bystander effect, what is the prayer stander effect? The prayer stander effect is when people engage in petitionary prayer, asking God to be the sole actor to bring about some remedial intervention, causing God to be the all-powerful witness who diffuses human responsibility. And a diffusion of responsibility can have tragic and terrible consequences. Suffering can be increased exponentially. Death can be a result. And if I believe the most loving and powerful divine agent is on the scene, then there's a natural easing of the direness of the situation. It is in God's hands. If God is taking care of it, then perhaps we don't have to. We can lift up our prayers and then go about business as usual. We know that neglect can cause trauma. Not feeding a child, neglecting to clothe them, or providing medicine when they're sick, or dismissing their emotional needs over a long period of time can cause complex trauma. And similarly, when prayerful people believe God is taking care of people and societal ills while neglecting to be active agents of change, that can bring about a pattern of neglect causing harm. And the harm can bring about religious trauma, contributing to lasting adverse effects on a person's physical, mental, social, emotional, or spiritual well-being. I'll say it like this. If people believe that praying to God in a certain manner, at a certain volume, and with certain words will convince God to single-handedly root out prejudice and racism, reduce hate crimes, solve the problem of homelessness, stop genocide and mass shootings, heal drug addicts, and stop rapes from occurring, and so on, then they are engaging in magical thinking and superstition of the worst kind. And I do not say these things lightly. Why is the above kind of praying of the worst kind? When individuals believe in an all-powerful and controlling God who is aware of the person or situation being prayed for, it becomes easy to adopt a passive bystander mentality. Like I said, the thought process often follows, well, God is all-powerful. God has a plan. God is in control. And God is going to take care of it. Consequently, if individuals perceive that an omnipotent divine being is responsible for handling the situation, and they themselves do not need to intervene, then there's a risk of neglect, trauma, and even death. I don't think I'm being too heretical here. This concern is found within the Christian scriptures. An adapted version of the spiritual writer James's wisdom in the New Testament goes like this. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to pray but has no deeds? Can such a prayer save, heal, or help those who are being prayed for? Suppose a brother or a sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you prays to God and cries, "May they be at peace, God. Keep them warm. God, may they be well fed," but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faithful prayer by itself, talking to God, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. We aspire to live in a world with less inequality, prejudice, war, oppression, and racism. And if God exists, then I'm sure that this divine being would desire the same, especially if God embodies love as many faith traditions proclaim. We then must assume that this divine being actively seeks to guide humanity toward achieving these fundamental goals. And if this divine being is not a controlling puppet master and cannot, or at the very least does not, force us to think and behave in loving ways, then it follows that people's hearts must be open to receiving healing in order to eradicate our tendencies to judge, marginalize, oppress, and harm others. I yearn for a world where people don't resort to violence with the intent of harming innocent lives. And I'm convinced that God, the universe, creative energy, or whatever term describes the transcendent and immanent force within and all around us, must share the same aspiration, at least if we're thinking in a philosophical framework. And consider how much more impactful it would be if those praying for others took concrete actions to provide money, food, and shelter instead of praying that God would miraculously take care of these things. How many more lives could have been positively affected if prayerful individuals actively reached out, making phone calls or engaging in face-to-face visits to provide encouragement instead of merely praying for God encourage their hearts? Instead of praying to God to heal someone, perhaps visit them and make them some soup, or if they're too far away, buy them soup and juice online to be shipped to them. How might people's lives have been different if prayers embraced and supported authentic feelings, desires, and longings rather than attempting to pray them away? Rather than only praying for world peace, people could actively engage in conflict resolution, promote diplomacy, and support organizations working towards peace building in areas affected by violence and conflict. It's in these tangible actions that the true power of prayer, if you will, can manifest, reducing the religious trauma of neglect and contribute to positive change in the world. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discouraging anyone from praying. Please feel free to pray to God, the universe, or however you address your Creator. Truly, may it bring you comfort. I don't want to step on that. Like, if that's how you roll, cool. I'm all for it. However, I do encourage us to be mindful of a thought-provoking question. How many individuals might endure religious trauma due to neglect and experience unnecessary suffering, experience worsening health conditions, or potentially face death if we approach our conversations with God as if he, she, or they were a magical genie, all the while assuming that God is not indicating that we are to be the answer to those prayers we are praying? I'll leave you with this. If we are caught in a dangerous hurricane and flooding and are about to drown in a car, do we want to rely on people's thoughts and prayers? Or do we want to rely on thoughtful and prayerful people? I am definitely desiring the latter.